Hi, Ray here. This is going to be a very quick video just to talk about a few things that have been on my mind and maybe a little bit of photo news. Now, I'm going to start off with talking about actually the making of these videos. And as I've said before, and many of my YouTube buddies will agree that it's an awful lot of work. So, of course, first of all, obviously, you have to record the video. And then secondly, you have to edit it and then upload it. And the recording can be one thing, and that's quite variable, of course, depending on the length of the video and the complexity of the video and whether you have to record lots of B-roll, and I'll talk about the B-roll aspect in just a moment. So it can run into days, sometimes, in my case, even more than that. And some of them can be very quick, like this one, and then some of them evolve. Maybe they're on the back burner, maybe they stay on the back burner and they never go anywhere else. Making the videos also depends on what gear you're using. And those of you who have been around my channel for a while will know the gear that I use, mostly the Nikon Z system and accessories, lenses, and so on. And so let me just run through that. I own two Z6s. That's why I started out with the Z system. I also own the new Z8. And before that, a year or so ago, I bought a Z9. So that's my gear. And then, of course, there's lighting and so on and so forth. And when we're doing location, and I love doing location, that's my favorite thing. But that adds unbelievable complexity, transporting the gear, and so on. This week, we have the release of the iPhone 15. And I've been saying to myself for the last couple of years, forget the 13, forget the 14, I'm waiting for the 15 and see what we get. And so now we have the option. I think you can order it. Yeah, you can order it this week, pre-order it this week, the iPhone 15. And so, of course, like a lot of people, I was interested to see that, and I did watch the presentation, Apple's presentation. And so here's what we got, and I've got my iPad here, and I made some notes. So let's talk about the specs. And if you can hear something up there, there's a hummingbird at the feeder. Let's talk about the specs of the iPhone 15 Pro. That's what I'm going to concentrate on here right now. There's three models, I guess, and of course they come in various spec build-outs, if you will. The iPhone 15 Pro, first of all, comes in various shades of titanium, and I'm a real sucker for titanium. One of my best long-distance bikes, used to be a marathon cyclist. My best bike is a titanium. I have to sell it because I don't use it anymore, but it's hanging on the wall, and I look at it longingly. Some good memories there. But anyway, so it comes in a 6.7-inch or 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR display too. So that's between the 15 Pro and the Pro Max. It has a new A17 Pro chip with 6-core GPU. Now, here's the interesting thing. How many lenses does it have? I've lost track, 5. But anyway, what that amounts to is a 0.5 ultra-wide macro, a 1x main, 24, 28, and 35 millimeter. Then it has a 2x 48 millimeter telephoto. We don't usually think of 48 millimeters as telephoto, but there you have it. And this is with the Max is a 5x 120 millimeter telephoto using something called a tetraprism, which I don't pretend to understand how it works, but it refracts things around, and that's how it achieves the telephoto 120 millimeter. So up to 10 times optical zoom range. And when it comes to portrait mode, in the old days, that meant that you chose portrait mode to get your faux depth of field. So it says portraits with focus and depth control, and it has an automatic function that detects the portraits, so you don't have to deliberately switch to portrait mode, and it saves the depth information so that you can see with an artificial blur, or you can actually edit it later in the Photos app. So that's pretty cool. Image stabilization, presumably that's much improved. And now video, because here's what we're talking about. Making videos with an iPhone. And I do quite often, if you watched any number of my videos, a fair amount of the B-roll is shot with an iPhone, with my existing iPhone. And that's really, really handy if just, I'm getting towards the end of the edit and I go, oh, I need that B-roll. Well, if I'm not looking for a really cinematic look, then just grab the iPhone and it's really quick to make the B-roll. So I'm going to read off the specs here, if you'll excuse me not directly looking at you. I've got them here on my iPad. So 4K video recording at 24, 25, 30, 60 frames per second. 1080p HD video recording at 25, 30, or 60 frames a second. 720p HD at 30 frames per second. Cinematic mode up to 4K HDR at 30 frames a second. Action mode up to 2.8K at 60 frames a second. Action mode up to 2.8K at 60 frames a second. HDR video recording with Dolby Vision up to 4K at 60. ProRes video recording up to 4K at 60 frames per second with external recording. Log video recording. Now that's really awesome. So I presume this is going to be Apple's own log formula, if you will. So yeah. Academy color encoding system. I really don't know what that is. Macro video recording, including slow-mo and time-lapse. And slow-mo video support for 1080p at 120 or 240 frames a second. Time-lapse video with stabilization. Night mode time-lapse, second generation sensor shift optical image stabilization for video. That's for the main lens. Optical image stabilization for video, 3 times telephoto. 3D sensor shift optical image stabilization and autofocus for video, 5 times telephoto. Digital zoom up to 9 times. That's the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max. Audio zoom, cinematic video stabilization, 4K, 1080p, and 720. Continuous autofocus video. And take 8 megapixel still photos while you're recording. Playback zoom. Video formats, HEVC, H.264, and ProRes stereo recording. And here's the biggie. Finally, we have USB-C, which supports USB 3. So that's incredible and very, very tempting. Will I trade in this iPhone XS? That's what I'm recording on right now. So this whole thing has been recorded on my old XS. When I say old, it's now 5 or 6 years old. I think I'd get about $200 for it. But here's my point. This is really easy. I've just set up here. Well, you can see the little location here. So there's nothing else here. There's no lighting, and luckily it's evening and we have overcast conditions, so that's always nice. Of course, the iPhone is always over sharpened and so on, which is why log recording is interesting. And I anticipate that I might mess around with this with something like Dehancer, try and be a little bit more flattering. So anyway, point being, this is really easy. And the audio, I'm even using the audio in the iPhone. I was thinking of using external or backing it up, but no, this is just the audio from the iPhone. I anticipate it's a bit breezy, so we might get some wind noise. And so I'll probably just use a little bit of voice isolation. So we'll see how that works. Okay, the next thing that I was going to chat about is a new release of some lenses. And we continue to get more lens options for the Z system. And this time, APS-C at least, and this time from Sirui. Autofocus 23, 33, and 56, and all f1.2. Very interesting. And the anticipated price for these lenses is going to be around 400 euros. So that's about $425 US. Of course, a bit more in our anemic Canadian dollars. I'll link the Cine D interview with Yu Wu in the description. I'm not sure what I think of the white ceramic look, but some people no doubt will like that rather, I don't know, clinical look. Or yeah, it's actually a very white, not like Canon's sort of cream color. So those are welcome additions. However, it would be really nice to see more full frame options for the Z system. Now, when it comes to other lightweight options, of course, we have the action cameras, and I own a GoPro, actually two GoPros. I have a GoPro 2, an ancient one from like, I don't know, 12 years ago, and I'm still using the GoPro Hero 8. So now we've got the Hero 12, and I've looked it over, looked at the specs, looked at some reviews, and really if I was going to buy a new action camera, I think I'd go for the DJI Action 4. I'd be more tempted by that. However, if you don't need the waterproofness and the sort of ruggedness and other functions of an actual action camera, really, the new iPhone 15, I think, is where it's at. Of course, big price difference. For me, the iPhone 15 Max would come in around $1,750 Canadian. So that's about it as far as what I'm thinking. What's been rattling around in my head is I'm not getting any younger, and definitely hauling large amounts of gear on location. That's getting tougher. The computational photography obviously is getting better in these phones. We're not going to get exactly the same kind of look I anticipate. And when I say anticipate, I'm not actually planning right at the moment to go for the iPhone 15, but it's interesting to see how things are moving along, particularly in terms of computational photography. I'm not completely sold that that depth of field, the faux depth of field thing is there yet, because it's been terrible to this point. But I haven't seen. I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see what it looks like. I mean, I hate when you see so often on the news, somebody who's using their phone to do a report, and they're set up in their living rooms or whatever, and pieces of their ear and hair keep disappearing and so on. I'm presuming that it's gotten better than that, because that was just awful. I just, every time I see it, I'm going, stop it, don't do that, just turn it off, we'll see the background. What do you think? Would you still watch my videos if they were shot on an iPhone? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it the old thumbs up. And if this is your first time visiting, please do consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. In the meantime, take care. Cheers, and we'll see you later.